Got any thoughts on Christian Wood?
Yes, and I have watched the game now.
Good. Well, I'm not even worried about the game, basically.
Okay.
Just Christian Wood, just a little intro. The Vernon thing's long, so
okay.
There's your show. All right, here we go. All right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith. Got Chris Vernon coming up in just a second, but right now I'm joined by Jon Burr. Jon, how's it going?
If you can ignore my voice sounding like Marge Simpson's sisters, I think we'll be all right.
I can't tell the difference yet. It sounds just a little. It's still sonorous. It's still got a little.
Good.
It's a little
I'm still getting the resonance up top.
Yeah.
My vocal lessons are keeping me going.
Listen.
I do think I'm wondering if I'm doing a podcast first. I think Chuck may have beat me to it last week, but this is a pantsless podcast for me.
Oh, congratulations!
First in the business, my first pantsless Zoom call of any kind.
As long as you don't tube and keep it.
Yeah.
Keep it the camera from
I was going to put my pants
up.
on. Yeah.
I think we're good.
I think we'll be okay.
Did I need to know the extra color? No, but I'm fine with it. But it's cool. Hey, listen. When Chris and I recorded, this is before the Dallas Mavericks made a trade.
Oh,
we discuss in our conversation we try to pick the three most interesting teams for this coming offseason. And the Mavericks get mentioned. We're not even really into the next offseason.
As they should.
The Mavericks made a deal. So they made a deal. I guess they were bored with the number of days off between NBA Finals games. And the Dallas Mavericks went ahead and addressed, I guess, a scoring issue. They got Christian Wood. And they got Christian Wood for not much. They traded away the good vibes of Boban. They traded away the 26th pick of this year's draft. It's a paltry haul, perhaps, for the Rockets.
I think the Mavs were good to get out there and set the market, and not get punished for another team's bad deal, if that makes sense.
I mean, I look at it from the Rockets' perspective of this guy's clearly available. They want to open up some minutes for whoever they draft with the third pick. Everyone assumes it's going to be one of those big three forwards, and then also give some minutes of it, make minutes available for Şengün. And it seems like they were willing, as long as you didn't have future bad salary,
right?
They were like, give us anything. And if
they got a first round pick is just barely there.
Well, I mean, if they canvass the entire league and no one, like the Spurs have 3 first round picks, they had 20 and 25, and the Spurs were like, no, we won't give you 25. For Christian Wood. And, this seems like, hey, we didn't get much for Christian Wood. On the other side, which I saw someone being like, Christian Wood is on his 7th team in 6 years. It's highway robbery. They got a first rounder for him. And I thought that statement was honestly an exaggeration. But no, this is literally a 7th team.
Yeah, but
can you name John? Can you name the 7 teams? I cannot.
No, but a lot of those were
I forgot some of them.
Somewhat meaningless stints. I feel like. I mean, wasn't he even on the Grizzlies? I mean,
no, I don't think so. But he played NBA games. So the ones I remembered, I knew he started on the Sixers. I knew that much. I knew he was a child of the process. He's one of those, like, can you look at this summer league team? There's 13 NBA players on it. I knew he was a child of the process. I knew he was on the Bucks. And then I was just thinking of the Pistons and the Rockets. I forgot the Hornets. He played 13 games on the Hornets. And then I also forgot the Pelicans. And when I looked at his basketball reference, now I remember, because I think there's been multiple stops here where I sort of needled the team for letting him go.
Right.
I'm like, hey, the Pelicans, you're bad. Why wouldn't you just keep this young Christian Wood guy who in 8 games, like, put up some numbers? He played 8 games for you. He posted 17 and 9. And they're like, no, we're good. And then he goes to the Pistons, and he's on a horrible Detroit team in 2019-20. And after the trade deadline, they let him start. And he starts putting up, he's just dropping buckets. He's averaging like 23 and 10, shooting 40% from three, post trade deadline up until COVID ends the season. And then we're like, hey, the Pistons have something here. And then that offseason, they're like, you know what? We'll sign and trade him. We don't want him part of the future. And now the Rockets, the same thing. He 2 straight years of this big man averaging 19 and 10 with incredible shooting splits. And the team's like, no, we're good.
I'm pretty much done criticizing Mavs moves after we all poo-pooed Spencer Dinwiddie and, turning the Kristaps Porzingis trade into the Tim Hardaway trade, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I think at this point, I'm just judging it by how good the front office is. So it's like when the Raptors make a move, I'm scared for the other team. I'm kind of that way with the Mavs as well. Like, I think they know what they need to put around Luka, and getting another guy who can drain threes, who will very likely be wide open shooting these threes, is probably a good move. There's a lot of noise surrounding Wood, particularly out of Houston, but let's, I think you give up nothing to get to take a swing on a guy who has been, a useful player and put him around one of the best players in the league. I think it might be worthwhile.
Well, on paper, the fit is ideal. You get a cheaper Porzingis. He's not the rim protector. He's also, he's a traffic cone on defense. He's horrible. He doesn't try at all. And there's some of this, like, can Jason Kidd get him to try? There's the argument he's never been in like a real winning situation. He's never had the opportunity to be in a stable environment. Can Jason Kidd shame him like Larry Sanders back in the day?
Oh, God.
Maybe Jason Kidd has learned some new motivational techniques that are
I forgot about the Larry
that are a little less
stuff.
toxic. And maybe,
we may get some soup throwing.
Maybe he's a new man. Yeah, I mean, this is the Mavericks kind of buying low on an incredible scoring prospect and saying, like, listen, Dwight Powell is great in the regular season, but his non-scoring, it doesn't work. We have to have someone who can just knock down shots. And Christian Wood can absolutely knock down shots, whether they can get him to play like team basketball.
All they
need a little bit of defense.
All they need is for him to be better than Dwight Powell for this to be a huge win. And like you said, regular season, like, there are times where I'm like, Dwight Powell and Luka Doncic are the best pick and roll combo in the NBA. Yeah. And I'm like, and then I need to, like, slow my roll and just realize you have a really good player in Luka who's going to kind of do that for anyone. So I guess I'll say big win for Dallas right now. I can't really do I can't do the Christian Wood as a bad influence on young players routine. I'm not there yet.
I mean, the track record of just no team, even rebuilding teams, wanting to further invest him that's pretty strong. Also, by the way, Christian Wood has a shot.
Reeks of Whiteside.
He's only 5 teams away from tying the NBA record for most teams played. Well, Ish is at 11. Joe Smith has 12, and I think a couple other guys also are tied.
That record will be broken
with
in
12.
Our lifetime.
I think so. I think those shortened. It's amazing. Joe Smith did it after signing however long that Timberwolves contract, that illegal Timberwolves contract was. Now with the shorter deals, you would think certainly someone would bounce around. But again, on paper, it seems like a good move for the Mavericks if they can get him to buy in. And it's also it's a low risk move.
More importantly, Keith, now that we'll get to see a lot more of Christian Wood now that he's not exiled in Houston. We can do our favorite celebration. This is a crucifixion.
That's right.
After every
you're burned after reading. It is, and they did. The Mavs traded a Chris for a Christian. If Marquise Chris and then Marquise Chris is included in this trade, and then he had surgery on Wednesday. Do you think he had surgery before or after the trade? Was he like, listen, I'm gonna go get surgery, and then they're like, let's trade him now. Or they're like, hey, we're trading you. He's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go get surgery now.
I think it was more like this. You trading me? Where? I'm gonna get surgery.
I feel bad for Boban.
Boban's probably gonna break that record, man.
Boban's been on a few teams. It's interesting. The Rockets now. So the Rockets have 3 first-round picks. Basically, all the first-round picks are held by the Thunder, the Rockets, the Mavs, the Grizzlies, and the Hornets. I think those. Yeah. Oh, and the Spurs. Those 6 teams have, I think, 14 picks.
So Christian Wood and Boban are getting traded all over the league. Christian Wood, who scores and does well is a cancer, and Boban is the good player to have on the
team.
I
think locker room chemistry might matter. I don't know.
Well, if it matters, then why does he keep getting traded?
What's it? Well, he's got that big salary. It's all about the salary numbers. It's interesting. So looking at the sign-in trade that Christian Wood was involved with the Pistons and the Rockets, the Pistons got the draft rights to Isaiah Stewart in that deal, and Isaiah Stewart and Christian Wood might be the exact
polar opposites.
Yeah. They're the yin yang. It's like the exact all right.
God,
this guy,
I love beef stew.
He's fun.
Ooh, he's fun. Also,
I was talking with Amara Sankofa 2 weeks ago, where it's basically beef stew being allowed to shoot 3-pointers like he did, a la Christian Wood in the garbage games in the final stretch of the season, and now Isaiah Stewart's knocking on threes. I'm like, oh, give me some of that.
Yeah,
he's great.
We had a really fun season this year, but my number one moment is still beef stew trying to get at LeBron. Beautiful.
I forgot what happened.
LeBron viciously elbowed him in the eye, squirting blood everywhere, and then Isaiah Stewart, like pro wrestling style, tried to get to him, and it took the entire team.
And it was one of those I'm cool. He did one of those I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
And
I'm cool
to a
race.
Yeah,
and then
and
he
and LeBron is a big scary man, and you saw the fear.
That was great. I had forgotten about that. Thank you for reminding.
It's like Ray Liotta in Copland.
Well, before we get to Chris, I got to tell all of our listeners, Chris and I do talk about the Grizzlies some. If you're excited about the Grizzlies season they had last year and you're looking forward to next season, why don't you go and get those 2022-2023 Grizzlies season tickets? You can guarantee the best seats at the lowest prices to see Ja and Jaren and the next gen Grizz. Season tickets start at just $11 per game. Plus, as an MVP member, you'll receive all the next level benefits like special events, merchandise discounts. You get NBA League Pass. And there's even more. Get your 2022-2023 Grizzlies season tickets and guarantee your seats for next year's postseason. That's right. We're going back. Get your 2022-2023 Grizzlies season tickets by calling 901-888-HOOP or clicking grizzlies.com today. Also, John, by the way, it's a PSA for our listeners. Desmond Bain is selling autographs in Hendersonville on Saturday. I don't know if that's...
Are you going?
I think yes.
Get him to sign a Lego box.
Maybe I should. He's going to be at Shep's Cards memorabilia in Hendersonville on Saturday.
I can't really go to card stores, man.
Is it just, that's like me going to the Lego store. Just can't do it.
I walk out with a lot.
Yeah. Take away my wallet.
Yeah.
I got to go there without my wallet.
Can't be going into card stores.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll see some listeners out there. Anyways, John, pleasure as always. Talk to you next week.
Take care. All right. See you, man. Are we doing a playback tomorrow?
Tonight. No.
Tonight. Jeez. We are. My whole family is horribly sick, but no COVID so far.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. My family and my sister's family is all sick, wiped out.
That's
brutal.
That's no fun.
See you, man.
Sick is worse. See you, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, you got me?
I got you. You got me?
All right, perfect. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry about that, man.
No, it don't matter.
I was what's it called? William, my wife she dropped my daughter off at camp and then was going to be she was going to drive back to the same place to drop my son off at like right when I was walking out the door, and I was like, look, I'll just drop him off on my way to work. But then of course I got caught talking to the parents.
Yeah. That's all good. That's what I just noticed. My son forgot his water bottle. And I was like, so I just emailed, it was like, do I need to bring, like, surely they have water.
It's unbelievable.
He's like walking around in 98-degree heat, like,
what's crazy. The summer is 5 times harder than the school year.
Man,
there's school all day, every day. I have been an Uber driver. He played, let's see. Okay. So Monday, he played 3 games, basketball games, back to back in a tournament.
Yeah.
They turned around and played 3 more games yesterday, Tuesday, 6 games.
Yeah.
And the Monday was in the morning and the Tuesday was at night. Meanwhile, my daughter is at Moana camp.
Oh my God.
Learning how to be in
incredible.
Moana. Yeah.
Dude.
And so
I know Moana. Dude, I'm playing piano for a production of Moana in the fall.
She's Maui.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's amazing.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
No,
but she's all geared up for that. But I mean, like in between my wife and I, we're literally just Uber drivers.
Yeah.
And the tournament that he was in Mississippi. And last night, as we're driving back, we're going to go get some dinner on our way home. And he goes through his bag and he's like, I don't have my phone. He got a phone for Christmas.
Yeah.
Because he's 12 and he's at these practices and stuff all the time, so he can get a hold of us.
Yeah.
Bro, he left his phone at the gym.
Yeah.
And I had to turn around and drive back to Mississippi.
My kid's going to do that.
Pray somebody turned it in.
Man,
and they did. Somebody turned in his
that's
phone.
Cool. My whole childhood was leaving towels and goggles and swimsuits at swim practice. I never remembered them. And so now I know my son, who's a literal carbon copy of me. That's all we're going to do.
It's the worst.
Yeah. I was just thinking in the fall, my youngest starts kindergarten.
Oh man.
So my 2 will be at the same school. And I'm just like, this is going to be the easiest thing in the world. This is going to be amazing. I get like an extra hour or 2 of my day now. Like it's
no, listen to that. So I've been living that life. And now he's going to, so but the school they go to is basically pre-K through 6.
Yeah.
And my wife works there.
Oh.
So they all 3 leave early in the morning.
Oh, dude, you've been having it nice. No joke. Your summer is a nightmare.
He starts 7th grade.
That's
this
right.
year.
Honeymoon's over.
So Mom and Haley are going to school. I'm going to have to drive him to school every morning.
Yeah. Have fun.
Oh, it's the only time I get alone is the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only time they all go to school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is great. Now there is never a moment where my house is not occupied.
Yeah. That's tough, man.
They're all there all the time.
That's cool.
So I can't wait for school to start back.
Exactly. There's no summer break. With all the pandemic and everything, I feel like we just finally hit where I actually have free time. Like I actually have morning.
I know it.
It's been wild.
All right, let's knock it out.
Are you good to do 3 interesting teams? Did you see that in the part of pick 3 interesting teams for the offseason? Can you wing that?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just look at the standings real quick. This will not be hard. Hold on. I just want to get good ones, right?
We don't. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
It can be seat of the pants.
Okay, hold on. I got you. This is gonna be easy. Okay. Boy, I got a bunch too. All right, I'll whittle it down. Okay, I'll whittle it down unless you.
No, it's.
You know what? I'll do this, and I'll give you my 5, and then we can whittle down to 3.
Okay, that works.
How about that?
That's perfect.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I'm joined right now by Chris Vernon. Chris, how's it going, buddy?
Great, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you staying cool?
It's about 5,000 degrees in Memphis. I went to this morning. I had to get something for my son out of my car. I was outside for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And my entire face was wet. And I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I am not built for the sweltering heat.
I am not either. And I have the kids and like I pick them up early and they're like, what should we do today? I'm like, well, we're playing inside. I'm like, we're not going outside.
And
like my kids like, you want to play soccer? I'm like, no, man, it's not okay.
Absolutely not. And you've got the gigantic beard.
Well, hey, here's a trick. You probably don't know this, Chris. I've never seen you with facial hair.
I've never had it.
The beard shields your skin from the sun's rays. It holds the moisture from your sweat. If there's a breeze, it contains this cooling feature. It's almost as if it's an evolutionary feature of man to have your beard covered.
When is the last time that you didn't have a big beard?
How many naked animals have you seen outside, Chris? They all have coverings. They all have fur.
I didn't ask you that. When is the last time?
I'll tell you, I shaved it down last summer to go to Las Vegas, because it was the epicenter of the Delta variant breakout, and I wanted to have a mask that fit over my face. So it was last summer. So last summer,
I thought you were scared that COVID was going to get caught in your beard.
No, hey, legit, man. Germs get caught in beards. No.
The whole mask thing was a debacle.
No, I'm saying
right?
last summer where I'm like, you know what? I've been staying in my house. I'm not worried about COVID, but I am going to go to summer league, and it was literally the global epicenter of like the Delta variant. It's like we got 32% positivity. I was like, good Lord. So I'm like, I need my mask to actually form a seal against my skin. So yeah, last summer I went no beard.
And you didn't feel that had a cooling effect? You were actually hotter without beard?
I don't
believe this.
I'm telling you, I've played sports in the summer outside with a huge beard, and people are like, how do you handle it? I'm like, I'm telling you, like, you can feel the cool breeze, you can feel the moisture in your beard, and like, this is wonderful. And I'm like, this is why we have this, is to protect our bodies.
Yep. I can't grow it. I couldn't grow that beard if I tried. I mean, I could literally never touch a razor, and I would never grow that.
So among all the Golden State Warriors who have famously had the worst facial hair for a solid 8 years now, they grow the grossest looking beards and goatees and things. You couldn't do a Steph Curry, you don't think? You can't even match that? All right.
No way, no. And, when I was, obviously, once you go through puberty and everything, you're like, why isn't this happening to me? And my mom, like, had this discussion with me about how my grandfather on her side was actually like a significant enough part Cherokee Indian.
Oh,
and if you ever see an Indian,
right?
You've never seen an Indian. They don't have anything. They don't have chest hair. They don't have. I don't either. I don't have anything. No back hair, no chest hair, no nothing.
That's amazing.
I mean, my pits and my pubes, but that's it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome. Other than that, I mean, but really, I guess it's just because I'm an Indian.
There you go.
I'm basically Native American.
You have it on good authority. That actually kills my whole theory of evolutionary outdoor living with facial hair. Anyway, Chris, we got to get to basketball at some point, but you also know we have to talk about breakfast. We always start with breakfast. Have you had any breakfast recently of note?
This morning I had a Fairlife protein shake. Those things you get at Costco, like
I don't, but
they come in bulk. Everything else. It's just a protein shake. And my son's been on them because it saves us from him eating crap. And then a Bob's. What is it? Bob's oatmeal. That Bob, whatever his name is. I don't know.
Is this Costco as well?
Uncle Bob's or something? No, that's like Fresh Market or Whole Foods. It's expensive oatmeal. So like one of those little cups of oatmeal. That's what I had this morning.
There you go.
Sounds vaguely healthy. Relatively healthy, yeah.
Relatively healthy, very sponsored, very branded. Can your
I don't have a deal with
name brand expensive oatmeal? Here's something that's basically free from nature. How can I pay more for that?
I need to get a deal with it. The thing costs like $8.
Yeah. Well, we're in the NBA calendar season. The finals. We're in between games 5 and 6. It feels a little bit like, I don't know, the Celtics might be running out of gas. Maybe they'll bounce back. But I want to look a little beyond that. I want to look to the offseason. I love dreaming about offseason stuff. I know our Memphis Grizzlies, as I like to call them, they have a very interesting offseason ahead. But also there's like a chance maybe they do nothing. So it's feasible. Like they might just pick and bring some of the guys back. But
no way. No, that's no way, Keith.
You think? What do you mean? We're not everyone under contract's not coming back?
I think the timeline got sped up.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question about it. And I think that when you have the opportunity to have an all NBA caliber player under the contract that you're going to have job under next year, you make the most of it.
Well, so who do you think's not coming back?
I think that what they will do is they will move the roster around to try to build the best around Ja. So how do you answer that? How do you build the best around Ja? My thing is, I think that they clearly need more shooting.
Yeah.
They need more shooting.
Everybody wants shooting. Yeah.
They need more shooting. I think that you have Ja and Bane and Jaren that are absolutely untouchable, and the rest is touchable.
Yeah.
That's what I tell you. Right. And so how do you build with that in mind? Is it just continue to water this and watch it grow? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you learned some lessons. And I think one of the things that they got bailed out on was, it went unnoticed that Jaren Jackson was always available. Always available.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't miss games. And they were fine when he did miss games, but he didn't miss games. Right? And the profound effect he has on both sides of the ball, which the numbers did show over and over again, I think then covered up the fact that they don't have anybody else in the front court that can spread the floor.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the issue. So I do think you commit and you bring Brandon back. And the Brandon and Jaren pairing is great because it allows it, and it saved Brandon. We saw what Brandon was when we needed him to be something different in the year that we lost Jaren. Jaren Jackson coming back totally revived everything we believed about Brandon Clark. But everything we believe about Brandon Clark is he's got to play center on offense. That's what he is. And Jaren allows that to take place. Okay. Again, and then you were trying rotating power forwards. You gave Zaire some minutes there. But he's not ready for that, especially if you're going to try to compete at the highest level. He's not ready to step in and be a power forward next year. Kyle Anderson ably played power forward for you for long stretches. In fact, for an entire season, 2 seasons ago. But again, with Jaren not being out and only fouling out, despite his foul troubles, only fouled out of 3 regular season games. So he played a lot of minutes for you this year. I do think that it covered up the fact that is a weakness. And I do think that that's a weakness that would have showed up if you would have lost him for any significant amount of time, So you have to think on spacing. So I think you need another big that is going to space the floor a little more. And then I would not be surprised to see a change in small forward.
Yeah.
And Dylan, I don't know. This is not about Dylan Brooks as much as it is what is the best fit with John Jarrett? And is he that? Dylan is what he is. He is not a knockdown shooter, right? And I think what we've learned from a lot of these teams is, if you got a guy that's that special of a talent, the shots you get are so unbelievable. There are so many wide open threes. Find guys that can knock down wide open threes. You had one last year that can knock down wide open threes, and he shot 44%.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how good you think Bane is. He shot 44% from 3 last year.
He shot 50% on the road.
Yeah. And a lot of that is because he gets to stand out there and knock down shots. And so I do think that you need more guys that can knock down shots. And that's in your starting lineup, and that is also off your bench. And I do think it's something that needs to be addressed regarding your front court. You're going to see more Jaren at center as this evolution continues. And so the center rotation is kind of set. I don't think you're looking for another center necessarily, but you do need to find somebody that can rebound, play power forward, and also knock down some shots. And then you got to decide what you're going to do at small forward. So I think it could be, I think the changes could be more significant than maybe we anticipate, simply because that is a reality. John Morant's contract's going to kick in the next year, and then you're going to be paying Bane, and then you're going to be paying Jaren. And you know what happens when you end up paying all these guys is you look down the bench and you ain't got that much left, right?
That's
to
right.
spend on guys. You have another season where you can really spend on the supporting cast in a way that you will never have again. You'll never have the chance to spend on the supporting cast like you will this offseason.
And what's wild is there's nothing as far as free agent wise. There's like no, there's nothing to spend on.
I think this is how you do it, which is the same way the Grizzlies have always done it, which is your extra parts and maybe your vets that you bring in. Those are the guys that you bring in as free agency, but that you are doing this through trade. You have built up a roster filled with useful rotation level players, and you have an entire stash of draft picks, and you have an entire roster filled with good contracts. You don't even have bad contracts.
That's right.
On there, right? So you get good play when you have good players on good contracts and draft picks, you can trade for anything.
Yeah, it feels that way. Finding the specific target always remains the challenge. When everyone's a lot of Grizzlies fans talking about like, hey, trade Dillon Brooks. I'm like, name the small forward better than Dillon Brooks. There's literally like 12. Like, even if you're kind of middling on Dillon Brooks, maybe you stretch it to 15. You're like, all right, name a player who's younger than him, who makes less money than Dillon. There aren't. And so it gets really hard. But yeah, so we focus on the Grizzlies all the time. I want to know, I want to open this up. Not counting the Grizzlies. I asked you to say, like, what are your 3 teams you're the most interested in this offseason that maybe they have the most directions they can go?
Okay, so I jotted down 5, and now you've got to you help me whittle them down.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'll work. Okay.
Right. Brooklyn.
Ooh.
I mean, it could go a million different ways. You know, they can just bring back Kyrie Irving.
I feel like Brooklyn's trapped.
Are they gonna pay him? Well, no. If they don't, let's say they sign and trade him.
Yeah.
Let's say they just sign him outright and they run it back with Durant and Simmons. Yeah. Let's say they just decide, you know what, we ain't doing this. We got to have guys that we could count on, guys that we could commit to, and we're not letting KD do this. And KD had that famous interview a couple of weeks ago where he said he hadn't talked to anybody with Brooklyn at all. This coming after the exit interview where Kyrie said that him and Kevin were going to sit down with Josiah and Sean and figure out what they're doing in the future. So there's obviously a mess going on. And what does that mean for Durant? That you want to talk about swinging the balance of power. If Durant looks up and they've gotten rid of his guy, he doesn't like the return. Yeah. We know Durant could force his way out anytime he wanted to. Nobody would blame him, particularly at that point. He's kind of in a safe spot. And so just because that Kyrie Irving thing is hanging out there, and because Durant is such a significant piece, and Simmons, who they traded for, is having back surgery, and we've heard that stuff about him not talking to anybody. This was the team that was the favorite. The favorite.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Going into this season. So to me, of course, it becomes incredibly interesting. What are we looking at for the last, 2 to 3 amazing Durant years? What are we looking at with him? This is, despite how they flamed out in the playoffs, he's still one of the greatest players on planet Earth. And it's coming down to the end, where you're not going to have that many more spectacular years where I can be the finals MVP. I can be the best player on the team. I can be in the top 5 in the NBA and scoring, all of that stuff. And so to me, that becomes mega interesting. Is his career ending by playing for the Brooklyn Nets and they build something around him? Yeah. Or is he the next to say, you know what, bro, one dude's got a broke back. The other guy, you ain't bringing back because he's, was flaky. And so I want to bounce too. That's why that becomes interesting.
You make a compelling case, yet I'm unmoved. Okay.
All right.
I'm honestly like, I feel like they're trapped. I guess it's curious if Ben Simmons can play whatever the Kyrie situation. I think they're just hoping he opts in. But all right, what are your next 4 teams? I hope you pique my interest a little more.
Phoenix.
Okay. Phoenix, obviously, with DeAndre Ayton. Like, what's going on there? That's a big
number 1 team.
Yeah.
So what's the move, right? Are they gonna they're not gonna pay Ayton. No. So what do they get? What do they get for Ayton? What is the return for Ayton? Because I'd imagine it will be very, very significant, right? And so you're pulling off a sign and trade, right? Is probably the best thing to do for them. But you also have, and this is big scuttlebutt around the NBA, on text threads that I'm on, that Sarver stuff's going to drop.
They just on Tuesday, another executive, one of their employees resigned, citing the toxic culture again.
It's not far away. No, it's coming within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Whatever is coming from that is going to come from that. Now you've got a whole nother storm, right? Yeah. You've got this massive organizational dysfunction What happens with Sarver? Does the NBA say, you know what? You can't own this team anymore. Then you're right. I mean, this is a team that won 60-something games. Now, meanwhile, they just sit back and say, you know what? Chris Paul and 3 of our other guys had COVID. We kept it all in-house, but they all had COVID. It's the only reason we lost to Dallas. You saw we kicked their ass at home any other time. Explain how we lost by 50. We had COVID. Like, okay, if we run it back, we're going to plan on not having COVID. How about that? We're going to try to play in the playoffs without having COVID. And you can convince yourself of that, right? And then try to run it back with them. So I would say I would be absolutely stunned. The only thing that would stun me is if they brought back Ayton and ran it back with him. But in between the massive organizational dysfunction, especially who knows what's going to happen regarding ownership. You know, we're living in very sensitive times. And, you know, Adam Silver could easily come out and say, you know what, we think it's better off if. And then you've got a team that won 60-something games, organizationally being rocked from the top down. Because I don't know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah.
But something is. And it's not going to be good. I know that. And then now you got to make off-season moves and big decisions for a team that was, you know, where, is their window, was that their window? Or are they going to be able to extend that window? Are they still going to be one of the best 3 to 4 teams in the NBA next year? Because they were the best team by 8.5 games this year.
Yeah, it felt like that was their window. That's a good team. Yeah, I'm very interested. Yeah, all right.
So, okay, both in the Dallas-Utah series, because I think they might make a deal with each other.
Oh, so you have Mavericks and Jazz.
Yeah, because I think Gobert.
I definitely have
he
Jazz.
Ends up there.
Yeah. Oh, you think so?
Yep. I think he ends up there. And then you've got the Donovan stuff hanging out there completely. And Danny Ainge is going to tear that thing apart. Watch. It's Trader Danny.
It's one of those.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They're going to have a new coach. And so do they go mild rebuild with Donovan Mitchell under contract, and we're going to build out around Donovan in the best way to build out around Donovan, which is what I would do.
Yeah.
I would not get rid of a 24-year-old or whatever he is, 25-year-old star. I mean, people have quickly forgotten how unbelievable he has been, even in playoff spots. Okay. So I think you figure out how to better suit that. You made a decision. Obviously Quinn made his decision. Then now we're going to have a new coach. You're going to have a new team. Rudy Gobert will be elsewhere. What kind of return do you get for that? How many teams get involved in that? Right? Because that feels like one of those guys that you might get a 3-teamer, where it's moving around pieces. But how does Danny Ainge help build out Utah? Or do they? I mean, they don't have draft picks, so they don't even have their draft pick this year.
That's right.
We did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think you look at them.
One of the fun. I think you'll like this framing. The only playoff series the Jazz won after the Mike Conley trade was against the Grizzlies.
That's right.
They got Mike Conley from. Yeah, they spent all this draft capital to beat us in the first round. And that's it. And
he'll be gone.
Yeah.
Conley will be gone.
Probably, you could see him moving.
Ingles was already gone at the deadline. So that Jazz thing is going to be nothing like we're used to. And then on the flip side, I think that Dallas is, that's been out there for a long time that Dallas really wants Gobert.
Yeah.
And so Dallas now clearly did not have enough to get it done around Luka. And he's another one of those stars that you could see winning right now, but he doesn't have the guy with him. And so do they decide that guy is Rudy? You know what I mean? That's who the other guy alongside with Luka after they flamed out on the Porzingis thing. So both those teams, and then the other one is, and I always have to count them in this, and I know you're not going to find them interesting, but they are, is Miami, because they were right there.
Yeah.
And Pat Riley's not going to be in that job forever, and he is a big game hunter. Big game hunter. So if that's Donovan Mitchell, if that's Brad Beal, if that's whoever it is, you know what I mean? They constantly develop talent. They don't give a damn about their draft picks, and they move it off. And so you look up and they swapped out Precious Achiuwa and Goran Dragic and stuff, and they've ended up with, and they've ended up with Kyle Lowry on their team, or they're able to sign Jimmy Butler, and guys want to go to Miami. And when Miami has a chance to win the whole thing, which they do right now, they're a massive threat to everybody in the NBA because guys want to be traded there and guys are willing to sign there, and they're really, really close. Obviously, they lost on a last shot.
I think I love the Miami inclusion because it feels like this is something I haven't seen rumored anywhere, but it feels like one of those things where you have these two bigger names, guys who can be unrestricted free agents in Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal, who could just be like, listen, I'm going to Miami.
Yep.
What can you get back? Try to get whatever you can get back. Like
it's a very, very difficult place to say no to. We know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The best of the best.
We didn't think they signed Jimmy Butler when they had no cap space.
That's right.
Like they got Jimmy Butler as a free agent and they basically had no cap space. And they're like, we'll make this happen.
He is an amazing, you heard all the stories about it, an amazing recruiter. And there's not that many of those guys left like that. And I'm talking like, for years and years, Jerry West convinced guys to do what he wanted them to do, right? A legacy, whether it's Kevin Durant going to Golden State or it's Kawhi Leonard and Paul George ended up in the Clippers, or it's,
Brian Cardinal to the Grizzlies.
Brian Cardinal to the Grizzlies. He sat there and he said, Brian,
would you like a full MLE?
I don't even know who you are, but the guy keeps asking me why I haven't signed a free agent. So here's a bunch of money.
Oh, incredible. That's a great Grizzlies lore story. So of the teams you threw out, I definitely, for me, it's Suns, it's Jazz, and it's the Heat I find most interesting. Perhaps illustrating how maybe my perspective is different from a lot of other people's. I don't think I would have listed many of these teams except for the Jazz, because I'm more interested in the teams that like the Jazz might theoretically dump players to, like the bad team, or not bad teams, but the teams who are like the Hawks. I think the Hawks, where they're like, listen, we're going to trade everybody. Can we get Gobert? All right, let's do that. Can we trade Capella and John Collins and the 16th pick? I'm not sure it's a good trade for anybody involved, but like that intrigues me. I'm also looking at like
they were in the play-in.
Nah, but again, that's what interests me, Chris.
Oh, okay. The play-in teams.
Yeah, or I talked with Amari Sankofa last week about the Pistons, where it's like, I'm intrigued that they could do anything. They could try to get involved with the Suns and be like, listen, we'll try to take DeAndre Ayton. They might be able to call the bluff of the Suns. Be like, listen, we don't even do a sign and trade. We're going to give them a full max. Are you going to get, with your ownership possibly in flux, going to shell out the money?
Is anybody going to tell them the Andre Drummond story or no? You'll get Andre Drummond 2.0.
Congrats. Man, you could.
Congrats. And then just be in the dead middle forever.
Yeah. If you were the Jazz, so let's focus on the Jazz to kind of wrap up, where they're in this weird spot where they're good with different bounces. They could have advanced in the playoffs each of the last 2 years. They were so close to winning series, yet they did not. And now you just can't. Like, you can't run it back with Bojan Bogdanovic and Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson and Gobert and Donovan Mitchell.
They don't like each other.
And it seems like the team doesn't like each other.
They don't like each other. It's obvious. Watch them.
But one of the big issues in my mind,
you can hardly get a high five after a game.
Yeah, well,
winner.
like one of the big issues is you have Gobert, who we know is content to be there.
No, he's done.
But then you have the more valuable guy in Donovan Mitchell, because he's a wing, has the ball in his hands all the time. But you could imagine maybe he doesn't see himself wanting to be there. So if I was Danny Ainge, that would be my difficulty, being like, this guy's more, I would rather build around Donovan Mitchell in a vacuum. But if I know he might have a wandering eye in the future.
Absolutely not. You can't win.
Yeah.
With the Gobert thing, unless you are going to like the same way I heard somebody put it well the other day, the same way that you build your offense around a big star, they built their entire team around him and his defense. And offense beats defense when you get to the highest level. Mm-hmm. And it does it over and over again. And so when you've got, look at the centers and the value that they are providing these different teams and what they get paid right now. If you're going to pay a center an enormous amount of money, he better be Jokic. He better be Embiid. He better be one of these game-changing offensive threats also. And he is a non-offensive threat. That's why he would actually be perfect for Dallas, because he could just catch the lobs and they don't even, everything runs through Luka anyway, right? But and they're pretty good, and they were good defensively anyway. So they would be even better, right? So they're not, but on the flip side, I don't think that it is wise to, it's just the way you build out your team. If you're going to allocate $40 million of the dollars towards an elite level center, he's got to be elite on both ends of the court and or at least average on the offensive end. He is he's a nothing. He can't do anything.
I would push back against that, where he
can dunk. He can't
but
dribble.
He's such a threat. He's such a threat where you can't help off it, like in the dunker spot, just like where their offense clicks. If you can have a guy like that who can finish so consistently and is so big, the price tag, you're right. You have to, it almost has to be like a Warrior situation where, ownership can pay
the
massive luxury
stuff. That's why he's there, right? The defensive stuff. And every year you game plan against it.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years where you've seen teams just go small and bust them out with clearly.
Well, I think we've learned in the NBA, just this finals, defense is the wings. It's good to have a rim protector, but like, you can't just say Gobert, which honestly is, I think, what the Hawks have in mind. We'll get Gobert. He'll fix our defense. And it's like, dude, if you have turnstiles at 1 through 3 or 1 through 4, you can't do it. Like the Celtics and the Warriors are the best defensive teams in the NBA. And kind of to your point, who are their centers? How much money are they paying for their centers? Like nothing.
And they would be during the regular season.
Yeah.
When you game plan against it for 7 games, that's when. So guess what Utah's defense isn't during the postseason? Number 1.
No,
It's number 1 every single year.
Yeah.
And then it sucks when it comes nut cutting time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't play that same defense that is great. It's a regular season defense. It's
a tough spot. And the Jazz.
It's also hard to have a bunch of great players when, again, that's why we got in the conversation with the Grizzlies. Once you're paying a couple of guys $25+ million, and that's on the horizon very soon when you're any good, you don't have a lot of money to spend on the other parts. And so those guys have to be deliverers. Have to be. And
you got to nail your late round picks. Last thing,
unless you're willing to spend $5 billion and have Andrew Wiggins as your 4th best player.
Last thing, since I got you here, 22 and 29 picks for the Grizzlies. One way to maintain a good roster is to get cheap contributors in the draft. You have any guys that you've circled that you say these are the guys I would love to have to come in and maybe contribute when this Bane extension kicks in 2 years, and when Ja's getting paid next year?
So I think that I wonder about 22. Let me just say this. I would be surprised, I think, if they pick 22 and 29.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I think they probably add 1, right? So you use the other one, and maybe you use both of them and you get up higher, right? You player and some picks, and now all of a sudden you're getting up higher. I don't think you need 2 more rookie contracts on this roster, right? Right now, especially when, you got Santi Aldama, who you just drafted last year. He couldn't really get on the court. I mean, I don't know what you're using your 15 roster spots for. And when you may just end up with an entire roster under 24 years old, but I mean, you're already mega young, right?
That's right. That's right.
You're already mega young. So I don't know. 29 is the best value in the world. That, you know, and it was hilarious when I saw that they traded the 30th pick, Denver.
Yeah, they got it.
That whole deal, they got that because I know you just watch what the Grizzlies have done. Like, there's no greater value. If you think you're good at drafting, it's the absolute most valuable pick in the world.
Well, Bane's the best deal in the NBA.
Right. That's why.
Literal best contract in the NBA.
And then they went and did it with Aldama. They went and got
that one's not
pick.
as valuable yet.
No, and I'm saying, but it's obvious they recognize this.
Right.
That if you can get a contributing good player with the last pick of the draft, it is the absolute least salary that you pay, and they're locked in for 40 years. Because if you pop off with a second rounder, if the guy's awesome after 2 years, he's getting paid.
Yeah, you got to pay him.
Yeah. Whereas, so I think 29, if you're adding one, and then 22, I think if you are adding another, I don't think they would add 22 and 29. I think that they would probably add, unless I think that 22 number would go up. So if you moved up, then you're drafting two guys.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're adding the 22nd pick and the 29th pick to the roster. And we've seen them make moves every draft.
Every draft, yeah.
Every single draft. I have not focused on the guys that are kind of in that range. And I think in part because, I did it last year and then we had the 10th pick in the draft. You know what I mean?
Although most people last year had Zaire at 17 circled. I feel like he was mentioned at least a lot as far as an option for the Grizzlies at 17.
Well, they have been even like silent about this year. This year, they've even been silent about their workouts.
Yeah, they don't tell anybody who's working out.
No, they don't tell anybody who's working out anymore. You know what I mean? I've wondered, like, hey, what are the chances you could fly up to 4 with Sacramento and go get your former assistant coach's son?
Yeah, that's right.
Jaden Ivey. Let me look down around. So like right now in that range, there's nobody I'm in love with. They have worked out that Christian Braun, the 6'7" kid from Kansas.
Yeah.
And they say I talked to somebody last night that said that they weren't that not for the Grizzlies. They weren't that huge a fan, but that they knew a guy at Kansas said like he is like the most dedicated worker, gym rat, will make the most of his ability. And I was like, oh my God, if that ain't the most Grizzlies thing I've ever heard, right? Yeah. Like they do have a type of guy, right, that they target. And I can't know about the overseas guys. I don't know about them. I think what you're going to find is that it has become a fool's errand to predict who the Grizzlies will take, and figuring out like who I like at those spots. Moses Moody notwithstanding, I wanted Moses Moody last year, right? Yeah. Because when it came to Clark time, nobody in the free world had Clark going that low.
That's right.
When it came to Bane time, nobody had Bane going that low. And so the mode of operation has been find the guys that are going a little bit lower than they should be going, and then go and snap them up. And in fairness, no one had Santi Aldama going in the first round.
That was a big surprise. Yeah, that was a flip from the way they've been doing.
Right. It. So what you hope is that somebody like Jeremy Sohan from Baylor falls down the board, or Jalen Duren had a bad interview and he falls down the board, or some of the guys that I'm more Tari Eason from LSU falls down.
His clips are incredible.
And you just never know. Like somebody, these guys, somebody's going to fall down. Yeah. And maybe, you get all this talk about these guys and they're going to be lottery and they're going to be, and everybody's got them kind of in the same range in their mocks. And then inevitably Brandon Clark's available, or Desmond Bane's available, or whoever. And so there's not guys that are down there that I really love, but I would guess I'm not picking from those guys anyway. I'm picking from those better guys that are higher that fall down that you've got a chance to swoop in and get.
Gotcha.
And I think they probably thought they were going to get Giddey at 10.
That's what everyone says. I've regurgitated that because I've heard it so many times. They thought they were getting Giddey, but oh well, the Thunder.
Sam Presti
got their man. Well, Chris,
wouldn't
thanks
that be the most Grizzlies thing is if well, now in fairness, Sam Presti got us Brandon Clark. You know,
he did.
You know what I mean? So we got over on him on that. But imagine if we traded up to 4 so you could get Ivy and then he takes him 2.
That would be the thing. That's hilarious.
Right?
That's great. Yeah, they can enjoy their Darius Baisley. Anyway, Chris, thanks so much for
it's always a pleasure, man.
Always a pleasure. Look forward to the next time.
Thanks, Keith.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man. No problems. I'm gonna run in the other studio.
Gotcha. See you.
See you, bud.